Welcome to the 2020 Home Education Program's live art making lesson. Before we begin today, I'd like to acknowledge that we're broadcasting here today from Gadigal land. Gadigal people of the Eora Nation are the custodians of this place, and I'd like to acknowledge their ancestors and elders past, present and emerging, but also acknowledge all the lands that you're joining us from here today. Before we begin, we're just going to do a quick run through of the materials that you're going to need for this collage activity that's inspired by Wiradjuri artist Karla Dickens. So first things first, we need your A4 image of the Wizard of the Wire, Con Coliano. You'll need an A3 sheet of white paper or card. I've got a selection of different fabrics and pattern paper here. So I've got some little diamond designs, I've got some metallic gold and silver paper, but I've also got some heavier pieces of patterned fabric here as well. You will need some scissors. Okay, so for those of you who are in kindy in year one, you might want to ask for some help cutting things out. You'll probably need two types of glue. If you're gluing down patterned paper, you could probably get away with using your glue sticks. But for those of you who are using some heavier fabric, you might want to pour out a little bit of PVA glue, which will help that stick down a little bit better than the glue sticks. And then for those final steps, when we're going to jazz it up and make it a little bit more circusy and whimsical, we've got our markers. We've got a few little glitter sticks here, okay, and we've got paints and crayons as well. So those are the materials you need, but teachers, don't forget, if you could please take some photographs of your students as they're working, that would be amazing. And if you could send them to the email address digital.artsunit@det.nsw.edu.au, that would be amazing. And if you could please make sure that the title of that file is your school's name, so that we know whose is whose when they're coming through. So you can see it on the bottom of the screen there, that email address. Unfortunately, Karla isn't available to join us today, but what that means is that I actually got to travel up to Lismore to visit her in her studio. So you can see, here's me at the regional airport driving out to visit Lismore, and we pass our wonderful big prawn there on the right. And Karla's studio is absolutely amazing. It's in her garage at home, and it's got every single material you could imagine possible. It's got things like old oil containers to doll's heads, anything you can imagine. And here we are pulling up to Karla's house, so I'll let her explain that a little bit more.
Hello, my name's Karla Dickens, and I'm an artist, and I'm going to do some work with you today. So I'm a mixed bag, Aboriginal from Wiradjuri, Irish and German, and I use all my different histories and life experiences to make art. And today we are going to do an activity on Con Coliano, because I've been looking at the circus in Australia and Aboriginal people's performers in the circus. He was also known as the Wizard of the Wire. And why I first kind of focused on Con, because him and his family, he was one of 10 kids, and they lived in Lismore. And I hadn't heard from him about him before. So he was like, went all around the world performing. He did stunts that even now nobody has managed to do. And his mum was Aboriginal and his dad was Irish, and all of the kids performed in the circus. So today we're going to do a collage about Con. So you should have a photocopy of Con on a tightrope with some crazy clowns underneath, and they're going to catch him if he falls. So there's a few different steps. So we're going to keep Con to one side, balancing very carefully, and we're going to get a big piece of paper, a bit of collage. I've got this, you can go crazy if you want, because that's what art's about. So, and also for me, it's about whatever I have laying around. So I found this morning, my daughter had a book of all different kinds of paper. So this is blue, and it kind of looks like denim, but you can use whatever you want. So that's the first bit. And because we're using an A4 piece of paper, I'm going to make it a little bit bigger. So I'm going to put it on top of, at the end it'll be like an A3 piece. So we've got two sizes we're going to work from. So first of all, I'm going to start. So we need some glue. Some people like glue sticks. My daughter likes glue sticks. I like glue like that, messy glue. And I'm going to maybe cut this paper a little bit. I have to cut the top of it off. So I hope everybody's got scissors and they're careful. So this is the first step. So I'm going to try and be as quick as I can with this, so then you can do it and we'll stop. So I'm not going to use as much glue as I usually do, because we'll be here all week. I'll put a little bit of glue on so you don't fall asleep. And I'm going to paste it down on my A4 sheet. And this one, it's good for the top collage, whatever you decide to use. You might want to paint a background or use a picture from a magazine, which I often do, but I'm going to stick that right up to the top. It's alright if it goes over a little bit, no rules, everything can be fixed up, so it's going to look like that. This is the first step. Okay, so the next step is we are going to very roughly, we're not going to be perfect, because I find if I try getting too perfect, art isn't as much fun. I'm going to put on my glasses because I'm old and I need them, and I'm going to cut out, I'm not going to cut out all his fingers and his hair. I'm just going to cut out a round con. So you can do whatever shape. So I'm just cutting him out so you can see a little bit of the clouds. If you really want to cut out really tight around con, you can do that. But I don't want to do that. So I've got con. So I'm going to put con down because my other bit's still drying. Then I'm going to get my photocopier, and there's those crazy clowns. So I'm going to do the same with the crazy clowns as I did with con. I'm just going to, oh, and there's a, I just noticed because I've got my glasses on, one of the clowns is holding a puppy dog. I didn't see that before. So I'm going to cut, not too perfect, but just kind of get a nice bit of a shape around there. I'm going down towards his feet. So everybody can cut out their clowns and con now. Now, how did you go? You got your clown cut and con cut. So we're just going to kind of, we're not going to stick con down, but we've got con. We're going to kind of just place him on the paper. So at this point, I just want to kind of make sure I know that he's kind of in the middle and that the clowns are going to fit. And this piece of collage, I want to put a tent. because circuses and carnivals have tents. So that's what we're going to work on now. So we've got our little bits of clowns cut out. So we're going to need a texture. I'm going to be fancy because I've got some fancy new textures. And I'm just going to draw a loose tent, like a circus tent. So see my little kind of tent there, my little triangle? I've cut that out. I'm cutting backwards. Please don't try this at home or at school. It's not sensible. I'm going to turn it around now. And that's going to be my big top. So with all my collage, sometimes I use tracing paper to get the right shapes that I want, but I don't need that today. So we're just drawing a little bit of a tent. So this paper's still a bit big, but it's better to have it bigger and then we can make it smaller at the end. So I'm going to glue my tent down now. A little bit of glue, so we're not here all week, but you can glue yours properly as long as it takes. And after we finish this, and I'm going to talk about some of the works that you can see behind me and all the different crazy things that I use to make art. We've got the sky and we've got a tent. Okay, so now we're going to stick con on and we're going to stick the clowns on. And because the clowns are on the ground, I'm going to go to clowns first. So I'm going to put the clowns in front of the tent. Glue that down. Stick them on. Cheeky, they're cheeky. The puppy dog's going down. There's the clowns. They're in front of the tent. And then with Con, because we've cut his tight wire off, we have to kind of be mindful where his bottom foot is. So when you're putting Con down, I'm just kind of, that's the only one that we kind of have to place kind of so it's going to make sense a little bit. We don't want his bottom foot to the side or on the top because he's definitely going to fall like that. We want his foot kind of at the, facing down. So I'm going to get my glue. And here goes Con. Wizard of the Wire is about to go on the collage. Here he goes. Make him a bit stable because we don't really want him to fall because I don't trust those cheeky clowns. Here we go. There we go. We're getting there. We kind of got this is like the sky and the tent was the background. Now we've got one layer. And then it's time for everybody to kind of get a bit creative and let loose a little bit. But before we let loose, I'm a bit worried about Con up there in the air. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to take a texture and I'm going to draw the tightrope up, so he's not completely hanging in midair. So I've got my texter. There's one side of the tightrope, and the texture's a bit thicker, so I'm going to take that on the cutout. There he is. Ta-da, ta-da. So now we've got Con on a tightrope, so he's not just suspended in midair. So I've got an example here. You don't need this, but this is just like a bit of a picture. You might be able to see it very clearly, but often with circuses, like circuses always had amazing posters. Art and posters were really important to try and get people excited about coming to see the show and to be entertained. So this one, it's not very obvious, but this one's got a really nice border around it with stars, and there's kind of rays coming off from the center. So the rays come down. So I was thinking of making a bit of a border. I don't think I'll put words on it, maybe, and you can put words on it, but I'm going to put a border around Con and the clowns, and I'm going to put some rays. So Con looks like the star that he was. So yesterday I found in my studio, because I always keep my leftovers, I found some bits of kind of stripy fabric. So I've got some of those, and I've also got, what else have I got here? I've got some nice stripy fabric. So when you're making art and you're using lots of collage, it's a really good idea to get a little box and collect little bits of things that maybe you've got at home or that's going to get thrown out. Sometimes I even use cardboard that's going out into the recycle bin. So I was going to use these. So there's decisions going to be made. So you need time to make these decisions about how to make it a bit of a poster and put some colour into it. So I've decided to use a little bit of this. So I'm going to cut this, and fabric is harder to cut than paper. So make sure sometimes I lay it down flat to make it easier. And depends, I like shiny fabrics are tricky to use, so I like cottons or harder fabrics. So I'm going to put that aside, and I got some stripy fabrics because that kind of reminds me of the circus. Sometimes the circus stripes remind me of the circus. So I'm just going to cut that into some strips. And if you don't want to use fabric, you can use paper or cardboard, or I've got some old comics here. Sometimes I use comics or magazines. So I'm starting to, before you glue, I kind of start to lay things out a little bit. So can't do it upside down, but hopefully you get the drift. So I lay things down first and move them around. You might want to have it right up near Con. Okay, so now I'm going to start gluing those pieces down. bit glue on there. Try not to make too much of a mess, but I'm really good at making a mess, and it's hard with art not to make a mess. So I'm going to leave that off there until they're glued down. So then once it's glued down, well, I'll use the scissors that way, then I'll cut that off. Then it kind of fits better on the page. I'm going to use a little short bit that I just cut off. So there's no mistakes when you do art. You just go with the flow. When I'm in the studio, I really like to have music playing. And if I start getting too serious or frustrated, I like to move around a little bit. But with the music on, I don't like talking to people in the studio because I like to get in the zone, and I like to kind of, you know, the old people call it like deep listening. So when they're out on country, they listen to the bush. When I'm in the studio, I like to listen to the artwork and listen to see what I might want to do. So it's hard for me to listen today because I'm talking so much. But we're starting to get a little bit of rays around con. I'm going to put a little bit of this colour fabric on. Put a little bit of glue. And you don't have to use collage on this bit. If you'd like to use paint, you can use paint, because in my collage I like to use fabric and paper, paint, textures. I usually put the paint and the textures on last. There we go. A little bit dark, but we'll try and make that work later. I'm going to use some of this, but I'm going to make this strip a bit thinner. Cutting, cutting. Okay. I'm gluing more of the collage. Put that down. Sometimes with collage, the papers can they don't stick flat. So what I do there, I've got lots of different things, and I'm going to do it with this. I've got this fancy brick, but you can use other things, books. I often use books. And I'm just going to put that down on top of there and make it go flat. Make sure it glues.
Thank you. Thank you, Karla, for that wonderful introduction. You're absolutely flying through. I'm struggling to keep up here a bit, and I'm sure there's probably a few of you out there who are too. But before we move on, I just want to give you a quick shout out to Mulwala Public School and Tamworth South Public School who have left comments on the YouTube stream. For those schools with younger students like Meadow Flat, Bathurst South, Eurong Creek, Gundagai South and Talbingo, If you've got some older students in the class who are a little bit ahead, please feel free to help out those younger students with their cutting and gluing. And teachers, don't forget, keep taking photos of your students' work in progress and send them through to that email address below, digital.artsunit@det.nsw.edu.au. And again, please don't forget to make sure that the title is your school's name so we know whose is whose. Before we move on though, we're going to have a quick look at a bit of video footage and a poem that Karla wrote for her work, A Dickensian Circus. So we'll have a look at that now.
Okay, so while you're waiting for that to dry and getting everything organised, we're going to cross over to a video of the Dickensian Circus at the Art Gallery of New South Wales.
At the Art Gallery of New South Wales. For those who frequent the gallery, the space is looking very different to how it would normally do so. This installation is by artist Karla Dickens, who's an Australian artist. It's called A Dickensian Circus. It's made up of lots of different elements.
I'm going to read a piece of writing, poetry that I wrote about that installation, and it's called Ready, Willing and Able. Okay, here goes. No erected big top today. No sawdust arenas or rolls of painted canvas. A dark sideshow has found its way into a womb of colonial privilege. Star-spangled banners exert unease. Miss Reddy empathetically claims this sacred space, her legs mirroring the strength of its marble columns, an exotic Kuri knockout. She harnesses the spirits, stolen from those caged, in the rusty menagerie over which she towers. These Aboriginal faces reflect historical human zoos, sadly mirrored today in jails countrywide, unnatural spectacles without safety nets. Spellbinding juggling acts are needed to sidestep those circuses, as the magicians who manipulate such entertainments continue to shine. Ticket prices skyrocket as risks and casualties increase. Mr. Reddy firmly stands his ground, not just a box tent performer. His fists help him to protect and survive day in, day out. Tattoos share daredevil stories and legacies, scars of resilience. Just like tightrope walkers who demand respect. Knife-dodging acts, gun-shooting cowboys and bareback riders. Fires rage with spectacular damage, evidence of a nation with holes in its buckets, which leak more than water. There's a gaping hole in this bucket, dear Liza. How on earth can you fix it, dear Henry? Dear Henry. The clowns enter and the show goes on.
Welcome back, everyone. Be sure to leave a comment on YouTube, okay? We'd love to know you were there and say good day, so get into that comment section. I hope you enjoyed that poem by Karla. We're going to make our last final call out for any progress shots, okay? So teachers, if you've got some photographs there, be sure to send them in to that email address below with the title of your school as the file name. Now we're going to head back to Karla as she talks us through those last few steps. So enjoy.
Okay, hopefully I'm going to lift the brick and the rays are going to be dry and your rays are going to be dry. Let's have a look. So we've got some rays going around con now. And while I was waiting, I got a bit cheeky and I got my texter and I just went around, I just outlined the tent a little bit. So that's a quick little job for you. And while you're doing that, I have to clean up my workspace because it's like being in the kitchen and you've got a recipe and you're cooking dinner and it gets really messy. So when you're making art and making collage, you kind of have to keep going and cleaning up your mess a bit because it gets a bit wild. It gets wild for me in the studio. There you go. So has everybody done a bit of an outline around their tent, or maybe you decided not to? The choice is yours because it's your artwork. So I'm going to do a border around this now, kind of like a little bit of a poster style. So what I decided to do is get a ruler and I'm going to do the border all off one piece of paper. So I just ruled that out and marked them all the width of the ruler. And now, while I cut this one, maybe you can get ready and find some paper, or if you want to do the border in paint, ask your teacher what you feel like doing. And I'm going to slowly cut these so it's not too messy. And I better put my glasses on because it will be. Okay, so now I've got 4 bits of long rectangles that are going to be my border around the picture that we've made so far. And you don't need it all to be one colour, you can make whatever decision you want. And I'm going to place them on first before I glue to make sure they're going to fit. Ooh, it's looking good. Okay. I'm going to try and show you carefully. So don't worry about all the outside bit because it's better to have more that we cut off than not enough. So now I'm going to go and glue my border on. It's a pretty long process, but we're almost there. And I don't like being rushed with art, because I always think something's going to take 5 minutes and it never does. It always takes much longer. So I'm gluing the top and the bottom on first, because I know where the end of the picture is and where the bottom of the picture is. There's those cheeky clowns. So because we've used lots of different layers of collage now, we have to put some books on it or whatever you've got heavy to make it go down flat. So while you're getting that done, we're going to have a quick look at the new works that's going to be a part of the Dickensian Sideshow at Lismore later in the year. So these new works, there's the exhibition is going to be some works from the Monster Theatres in Adelaide, which is a Dickensian country show. Some works from New South Wales Art Gallery, a Dickensian Circus. So these are some new works called the Dickensian Sideshow. So the work is growing and I'm kind of not finished with it yet. And these are kind of about what happens behind the glitter, what happens behind the show, and with all the performers and workmen and animal trainers and everybody behind the circus. So they're not very glittery, they're more working class stories. And this one, in all the carnivals and that went all around the country that used to go, and sometimes they still go to rural areas, and you might have country shows where you live. There was lots of rough riders and rodeo performers, and lots of them were Aboriginal, and lots of stock men and women also really fantastic on the horses. So this work is about them, and there's a big leather bridle for the horse in the middle. Underneath the first bit, I was using lots of old canvases and tarps, because they really remind me of the country shows and the circuses, because there were always tarps, and the tents were made from tarps, so they were all old and crusty. Then there's the horse bridle. There is a rider here who looks like he's going to fall off his horse, so I hope he holds on. There is a couple of horseshoes, so they're metal, and I nailed them onto this hard board that I used. And there's a really pretty horseshoe here with some flowers. Maybe a girl won a prize. We've got a horse up here, and that's a little bit, behind the horse is a little bit of lino from my Nana's kitchen. So I've been holding that for a long time. So I love to collect things that remind me of people and that tell stories. And we've got a banner. I don't think they have them anymore, but this one says a souvenir of Catherine, Northern Territory. And we've got a little cowboy hat and scarf down there, cowboy or girl. So that one is for all the rough riders and rodeo riders. I always wanted to be a cowboy, but I just make pictures of them now. So that's that one there. And we're going to go through, you can have a look and see if you can see all different things that I use in the artwork. Okay, I hope you're going okay. And it's time to see if it's all glued down, which I'm sure it will be. I'll take this off. Woohoo! Here we go. So it's all glued down now. So we're almost there. And what we're going to do is cut all this excess off. You can leave it if you like it, but I'm going to cut mine off because I want a border right around it. So I'm going to lay it down flat because it's getting quite thick now, because we've used lots of different papers on top of paper. So I hope you've been eating your spinach and your wheat bix, because you're going to need your muscles once there's lots of different collage on top of collage to cut out. Well, I even like, they're the little bits that I kind of like to save on the end. You never know when you'll be using those or throwing them in the bin. Slowly. Oh, here's a thick bit. I've got my muscles. Oh yeah. Cutting that very carefully. Okay. So that looks a bit more tidy now. We're kind of getting there. We've got Con with the rays around him, balancing on his tightrope with the clowns in front of the tent down the bottom. Okay. So for the last finishing touches for our little circus poster, we can use some paint. That's a blue paint. But I've got new textures, so I really want to use my new textures. And if you've got some glitter, you might want to put a bit of razzmatazz on your circus picture. I'm in the mood for a bit of razzmatazz today. And so what are we going to do? I just thought it'd be nice to, if you want to put words on it, Wizard of the Wire, or clowning around, something on the bottom. But I'm just going to do maybe some stars in the corner and just a bit of a line around. So I'm just going to go free fall here and see what I do. And you can, while I'm doing this, you can think about what you want to put around your border. So now I'm going to go some stars, because stars are very circusy. And I love complementary colors. Do you know what complementary colors are? So I love complementary colors are opposite colors. So the border's green. So I'm doing red stars. And blue and orange are complementary colors. Yellow and purple are opposites, but red and green, and I also like the South Sydney Rabbitohs, so they're my favourite. So my stars are a bit wonky, but that's alright because I'm a bit wonky. And this is, you've got to have fun, so don't take your art too seriously. And I'm going to see if I've got some green glitter open. Oh yeah. So now I've just got some stars on the corners of con, and I like that red so much, I'm just going to put a little bit of a line around it. We're nearly there. Okay, now before I put the glitter on, I have to put some glue on so the glitter sticks. So I have to decide where I'm going to put some glitter. And I think I'm going to put some glitter down the bottom around the cheeky clowns. Now, glitter's optional. You don't have to do glitter. You might want to get really excited about colouring in. It's up to you. And I think I'm going to put some glitter around the superstar who is Con. Okay, so I've got my glue down and I hope this is going to work. Another messy operation. And this is good. This is like a little tiny shaker, so I can't make too much mess. Okay, and blow that off. There we go. There's Con and the cheeky clowns. Woohoo! So I hope you had fun. And I think I had fun. I hope I like mine. Sometimes you need to sit back and look at it for a while. And that's what I'm going to do with Con Corleone and the clowns. Okay. Have fun with your glitter. There you go.
So you can see here my somewhat completed work. There's lots of glitter. There's a few different patterns I've made with crayons and markers, and we've got our beautiful red and silver sparkly tent. Before we have a look at some of your works, I just want to give a quick shout out to Tamworth Public School. Your teacher Sally, should I say. There's a room full of clowns getting around, and a few tongue twisters as well there. Now it's time to share your final works. So teachers, if you could take some close-up images of your students' work and email them through to digital.artsunit@det.nsw.edu.au very quickly, please. And while you're doing that, we're going to take a look at some process shots today before we get those final artworks coming through. So our first image here is from Manildra Public School, and we can see there the Wizard of the Wire very precariously balanced on a tightrope. I've got a fantastic multimedia, mixed media, 3D little tree there, looking great. Oh wow, I've got some paint splatters there, very, very Jackson Pollock-esque. I love it, good job. Oh, okay, a little crepe paper collage there. I love the textures in that work. And are there some feathers as well? Looks like you've been looking at a Dickensian Circus, all of those little galah feathers and rosella feathers that Karla includes in her installation. It's nice work. Okay, have we got any more images coming through? Oh wow, okay. Very nice, lots of different colour going on there. And what are they? I can't quite see. Are they little deer on that pattern paper by the looks of things? Okay, very interesting. Nice work. And now we've got some images from Gundagai South Public coming through. Some wonderful progress shots. You can see there how messy a collage workspace gets. It's looking very much like Karla's studio. Even more so there, lots of mess. I love it. It's a tough gig being a collage artist. Lots of sticky hands, but it looks like everyone's working away really well there. Great job, Gundagai South. Oh, now we've got the live feed from Gundagai South Public School. Looks like everyone's still busy working away there. Can't wait to see those final artworks come through. Hello. And now we've got Temora Public School. Some images coming through. Oh, I don't know how you're doing it, Temora. That's a very tight workspace. You must be doing very well to stay collaborative and friendly, and that's it's a tricky spot. Oh, nice work. Is that newspaper in the background? I can see. Another beautiful textured background there. Good job. I don't know if we're collaborating there or what's going on. Is that a team effort by the looks of things? And now I think we might have a few more images coming through. Or we might actually cut to some photos of today's production if we've got them. Here you can see a wonderful studio setup. I think we're scattered across 4 or 5 rooms here at the arts unit, and there's lots of tech equipment making this happen today. So big shout out to the tech team for all their hard work. There's me. Great. Love it. Next photo. It's a photo inside a photo. Inception. So great. Any other photos there, or just we're going to stay on me? You can't see now, but I'm going very red in the face here on the live stream. And now we're cutting across to Tamworth Public, who are still flat out making by the looks of things. I can see someone's created a headband by the looks of things from some fabric. Can you see me? Okay, Gundagai South, do you want to give us a wave? Tamworth Public School, give us a wave if you're there. Nope. Cool. Hello. Oh, it's delayed. Okay. Hello. There's one. We got one wave. That's all right. Okay, so we're just waiting on a few more photos to come through. Hello. 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 Still, just have to bear with us. Some final artworks are coming through as we speak. And there's a very close-up live stream there from Tamworth Public. How are you doing? What do I do with my hands? I feel like a scene from Talladega Nights at the moment. All right, now we're just getting some images come through from Walhallow Public School. Some more progress shots. You can see Con's in mid-air there. I wonder where that tightrope's gone. Or is he falling into those cheeky little clowns, as Karla puts it. Okay, if you have any more questions, feel free to send them on through. You can leave them in the comment section in the YouTube link. And yeah, thanks to Karla again and all the team at the Arts Unit and the production team for making this happen today. We hope you enjoyed it. I know I did. I probably don't have the collage skills that Karla does, but all your works look so amazing. So thank you again for joining us today, and we hope you enjoyed the experience, and we'll see you at the Art Gallery in New South Wales.